Good evening, John O'Flaherty, the B3 Burner, and today we're going to approach things, or I should say tonight because it's getting kind of late, we're going to approach things a little bit differently. Rather than playing music, I'm going to take you through a process of how I practice and how I approach practicing at home. First thing I want to say about practicing at home is it's necessary. You don't want to go into a rehearsal half-baked, not having done your homework. The other people in the band aren't going to appreciate that, especially if they took the time to practice at home. Now, if there's questions in the middle of rehearsal and the whole band is a little confused how to proceed, then that's different. The second thing I'm going to say might be a little surprising to you. I don't practice every day. I really don't. I practice every other day. My theory being there that I don't want to burn out. This is supposed to be fun, and if it's gotten to the point where it's a chore because I'm over practicing, over studying, over analyzing, then it puts at risk my staying power in the band, and I don't want that to come into question. So how do I approach a song or a group of songs when I'm first learning them? You typically, in blues music, do not bring notes on stage. It's just kind of understood that at that grassroots level, it's a more casual genre of music. So blues players generally make the assumption that the only chords they're really going to be dealing with, and if you don't know chord structure, don't worry about it, these are just names, they're dealing in the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. If I'm in the key of C, that's my 1 chord. C, D, E, F, you count the one you're on up. And then the next one after that makes 5, G. That's the most basic look at a 1-4-5 progression. And that's what blues players work around. And really, the only thing you need to do to play the blues by ear is to make sure you know where your 1, your 4, and your 5 are in all 12 keys. There's a lot more out there than just C major. So let's back up and talk about how I approach music. I start with the big set list that the band has asked me to learn. And we're taking with us our 7 most important songs. That's what I have to work with. Now let's say I've never played these songs before and I'm learning them for the first time. Let's look at When My Train Pulls In, because that is a song I'm not familiar with. Now, it says in my notes, because I knew this ahead of time, that it's in the key of E. So what do I know about the key of E? That's going to be my 1. E, F, G, A. A is going to be my 4. And then 4, 5, A, B. B is going to be my 5. A is going to be my 4. E is going to be my 1. But what if I didn't know that? What if I have to listen to the song for the first time and figure out what key it's in by ear? And I'm not looking at Chordify, and I'm not taking the time out to go on Google and Google the song and figure out what key it's in. I have to depend on, and really, I should be depending upon my ears to figure that out. So let's say I don't know it's in the key of E. Well, we're going to play a sample. Now, how do I practice? I typically use my iPhone, Bluetooth it to my, if I say its name, it's going to alert it, so I don't want to do that. This device, my Amazon device, and play it via my phone. In this case, my phone is doing the recording right now and recording the video, so I can't be holding my phone, using it to play my playlist at the same time. So I have to depend on the Amazon device that plays music. In this case, I'm lucky and it does. So let us play this. Alexa, play When My Train Pulls In by Gary Clark Jr.
When My Train Pulls In by Gary Clark Jr.
And I don't want it too
on
loud.
Amazon Music.
So I'm listening for the tonal center here. I want to see what key does this song tend to revolve around. Alexa, pause. Da 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 da. I like that key. It really seems to want to go back to it. Well, I'm not getting the bass line right, but you get the idea. We have just confirmed that that song's tonal center is the key of E, and is probably going to be E minor. Now, bass players don't work in the realm of worrying about whether it's major or minor. They just deal with the fact that it's E, and the first thing we want to do is establish the bass note, the bass key root note that the key is in. And that's it, that's E. But is it E minor, which is the sadder sounding chord, or is it E major, which is the happy sounding one? So let's listen further. We'll unpause it and play it some more. Alexa, play. Sounds pretty minor to me. Let's try major. Or I can play it as a power fifth or fourth. Yeah, sounds pretty sad and sullen. I want to think that this is a minor chord. Okay, it just went to A, and it still sounds minor. I didn't go to an A major. Okay, it's about to go to the B. Down to the A minor, to E minor. Alexa, pause. How did I know that it was going to go to A and B? Because I anticipate in the blues 1, 4, and 5. So that's what I mean when I say you really have to memorize and learn by sight and sound your 1, your 4, and your 5. Because once you know that E is your tonal center, you got to think on the fly real fast and keep up. So 4 up from E is A, and then 1 up from 4 is 5, which is B. The question then becomes, is it minor or major? And you just have to listen to the song and have a feel for it. A lot of times, if your 1 is major, your 1 is minor, excuse me. Your 1 is minor, sad and sullen sounding. Your 4 many times is a 7 chord in the key of the 4 and sounds major. But in this case, I'm listening to this thing, and 4 sounds just as sad and sullen as the 1. So it's E minor to A minor. The only thing that isn't minor, because that would totally throw it off and make no sense, is the B, which we can add the optional 7 to before going back down to the A and then back to the 1. Okay, so let's continue. Alexa, play. Now, as I get to know the song better, I'll throw in flourishes later. I don't want to throw in too many flourishes. I'm just trying to get the framework. Okay, we missed the A minor because I was talking, but we'll go to the B now. Alexa, pause. You wouldn't start putting carpet in the house before you put up the frame and the drywall. hence it goes that when you're learning this, you got to think about structure, working your way from the outside in. First you lay down the foundation by getting the key of the song. Then you put up your frame of the house by kind of learning the chords and little doodads that tie the whole song together. Then you can start worrying about laying down the carpet and putting up the interior walls and putting the whole house together in the form of rhythmic flourishes, like maybe I'm following the beat, or maybe I'm going to follow a horn line and play it on organ. Or maybe I want to flip the Leslie switch on and off and use some organ effects. But I'm not going to worry about any of that until I make sure I know what the song is. Alexa, play. We're going to continue. Well, let's turn it up a bit. Okay, this is where I pay attention to how long he stays in each chord. Goes up to that A minor, that 4. Alexa, pause. For those who don't play music, changing chords is a lot like shifting gears in a stick shift car. You're just basically sending the song forward by accelerating into the next gear. In this case, the chord change. That's the best analogy I can come up with for non-musicians. Alexa, play. Okay, there's that turnaround. There's the 4. There's the 1. Okay, listen to what's going on now. What do we have? Sounds like a guitar solo to me. So as a key player, hands off and just play chords. Alexa, pause. If the guitar is in the middle of playing, I don't want to disturb him and get in his way. The upper keyboard right now has a lot of mid-range-ish sound. That's right in his wheelhouses and is going to get in his way. But if I play down here, it's more muffled. The organ is muffled, and it gives him more space. So let's do this again or continue, but instead of playing up here, I'm going to play down here. Give the guitar his space. And I don't know if I have a keyboard solo yet, but let's go check it out. We'll find out in a second. Alexa, play. Sounds like he's playing his second 12 bars. He's going through his second round, so we'll leave him alone. Let the guitarist do his thing. Now, do I get a keyboard solo? Nope. Goes back to singing. Alexa, pause. Now, the band may and probably will throw me a bone and give me a keyboard solo because I am a solo keyboard player. Typically what we do in our band is we give me one solo and we give the guitar player 2. Just because the song, the original song by Gary Clark Jr. doesn't have keys doesn't mean that we're not going to have keys. We don't have horns, but I will play horn lines on the organ, and we'll get by with it. And it'll be, somewhat convincing, simply because the Hammond organ is a powerful instrument. Anyway, let's finish the song first and see where we end up, and I'll have some closing thoughts. Alexa, continue. I gave it some Leslie and I gave it some chorus. Turn Leslie off. Turn the chorus off. texture using my switches. Maybe as it gets more intense, I want to bring the drawbars up. Now I'm going to bring up the Leslie. And the chorus. Turn down the Leslie, turn off the chorus. Push this in. More guitar. Now chances are I would have been throwing an organ solo by now. Alright, so what have we learned here? We've learned that we gotta find our tonal center, T-O-N-A-L center, or what key the song is in. Then from there, we need to figure out what our chords are, and we label chords with both alphabet name, but we can also label them numerically by scale degree. Blues players typically don't bring sheet music on stage. So I would follow the same process for Empty Promises, which is in the key of D minor, Shaky Ground, and so on and so forth. Now, what about my other band? I'm thinking specifically of a song called Together by Tierra, which was popular in 1981. That's a tough song. That's a really tough song. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's in the key of E flat and has a lot of sharps and flats in it, and the chords are not simple triads. There's a lot going on. So that's an example of where in that band I need a sheet music stand. It's a different kind of playing. It's not better, it's not worse, it's different than the blues, it's not as casual. And I do want to say one more thing about blues music. Let me go back to it. I had kind of jumped to my other band. In the middle of rehearsal is when homework is for basically learning and practicing songs to get them as well as you can at home. Rehearsal is when we come together, see what we've all learned while we were at home, and is it going to come together and mesh smoothly, or is it going to be a complete train wreck? If it's a complete train wreck, we got to seriously sit down and think about, maybe do we even do the song? Do we continue with it? The other thing we might consider is let's work on it together during rehearsal until we get this thing right. Maybe the middle is fine, but the beginning and the end need work. So let's work on the beginning. It might just be the first 10 seconds, but it might be the most important 10 seconds of all, especially if it's the first song of a set. So one of the things that gets discussed in rehearsal, especially the blues band, is arrangement, instrumentation. Like that whole thing of the fact that let's let me, the organ player, take the first solo, and let's let the guitar player take the second and third solos and then finish the song out. That is not something you want to have to depend on writing down on paper and then putting it up on your sheet music. You don't want to be the only one setting up sheet music. I mean, sheet music is for sheet music. You shouldn't have to put down on your notes, I get the first solo, guitar player gets the next two. I shouldn't have to put play horn lines on organ in place of horns. That's something that I should memorize. You have to really trust yourself to memorize what's discussed so that when you come up to it again, you don't have to write it down or look at your notes. My R&B Latin band is a little bit different, but in the blues band, any notes that I would take, I should memorize them at home and just know if we discussed it in rehearsal, just remember when I see that song, remember that we're going to do this in the beginning or that toward the end or whatever it is. Minimal amount of notes, maybe something scribbled down on lined paper for home use, but when you Or maybe even at rehearsal, it's okay. But when you go on a gig, you better be ready to go. I would go through the same process with the other songs, but I've already taken up a lot of time already. So with that, I will leave it alone and say goodnight. I'm the B3 Burner, and I will see you next time.